was Samhain. Samhain, the god of death, the exact same thing that Moloch was honored on this very last day of the Celtic calendar, October the 31st. It was believed that the god of the death, the god of the underworld, which is just another title for Satan, Samhain is a name of Satan, and commemoration to this, the Druids would burn they would burn a virgin girl in a wicker cage. They'd make a wicker basket, put her inside of that, hang her from a tree, hang the basket from a tree, and set a bonfire underneath it and burn this child alive to hold back this god of death's destruction. They believed in human sacrifice would hold back this.
And that isn't just Druid history centuries ago.
Right.
That's happening in the United States, in Lima and Allen County right now here in America.
Right.
It's sad, but there is human sacrifice taking place.
Absolutely.
Right here.
Right.
Babies are being born that are not being registered at the courthouse.
Right.
And they're being produced just for the purpose only for sacrifice.
And according to, people that are specialists in this area, crime units nationwide, police forces and the rest, the #1 day for that, other than any other day in the whole calendar year, is October 31st.
And we want to take our children out on that day and celebrate in an innocent tradition when babies are dying that night all over the country.
Well, see, it's not a coincidence that it involves children, and the very fact that they go from door to door as dressed as a ghost, dressed as a demon, or dressed as some character of some kind, and asking for trick or treat, that falls in here. Matter of fact, if you go into it, the next one listed, it says, you should not make your son or daughter pass through the fire, or that uses divination. The part of Halloween that falls into this category of divination, the word divination means to have divine insight into future events through the use of some tangible object, whether it be a tarot card, a Ouija board, a crystal ball, a palm reading, a tea leaf reading, whatever. And in the practice that was incorporated when the Celts and the Roman Empire joined in together was in honor of the goddess of fruit, was Pomona. And one of the things that they honored, or one of the things they did during that time, now this is way before Halloween became, way before anybody discovered America, anything, is they would bob for apples. And it was believed that if the man could, the boy could bob for apples or coins without using his teeth, that he would have a fortunate year, he would be lucky. And then the girls would take the apples. And again, this is something that they can go to any library, Brother Minky, and check up on, and encyclopedias. They would take these apples and they would pare them, cut the peeling off of it, twirl it over their head 3 times, and then throw it over their left shoulder. And as the paring would fall down, it would take on the shape, supposedly, of a letter, which would be the first letter of the person's name that they were to marry, which is a form of divination. And today, of course, bobbing for apples is still part of the festivity that incorporated in Halloween. And of course, that is the source of it. All right, then the next one is an observer of times. This is the third one. An observer of time would be not only someone who falls under the category of astrologer, astrology, a horoscope, biorhythm charts, who look to the stars and the planets to predict future, but it's also the observance of certain times and holidays that are commemorated for occult purposes. Like that is exactly, to a T, exactly what God said was a forbidden practice, to be an observer of these times. And again, this whole idea was to honor this god of death. So in an observance to it, God said that is a practice you are never to be a part of. You're not to be an observer of these times.
And you go out into the malls today, and it's not only so many days until Christmas, but all of a sudden all these masks and everything else are out there. Because the marketplace that loves money is an observer of time, knowing that people likewise are planning for Halloween.
And where we get into this is the fact that according to the Satanic Bible, on page 96, Anton LaVey writes, the pastor of First Church of Satan says, next to one's own birthday, Halloween is the most important time. It is the celebration, according to the Satanists, that is the highest. So nationwide and worldwide, that is an observance, a time that is observed nationwide, worldwide, on a worldwide scale, as the epitome of the Satanic Church.
You know, the sad thing is because people have been successful, Madalyn Murray O'Hair, of getting prayer out of school, the Ten Commandments out, and now they're trying to eliminate Christmas in schools. But hardly a single child can go into a public school system and be subjected to witchcraft, and if they refuse, they're made a mockery of in class.
Absolutely.
They have to participate, they'll be deducted their grade, they have to get involved in black cats, witches, bobbing, all this stuff, which God says you shouldn't be involved in it. They have to participate, or else they're marked as being radical, subjecting children to very negative peer pressure. And I haven't yet seen anybody go to the Supreme Court want to remove Halloween from public school. Nobody. Why don't some Christians stand up and...
Well, I think one thing will eventually happen if we can get Christians out of this. We'll have us an argument.
Well, that's why I'm so strong in home education, because we can bring the Word of God in there and not be conformed to the world.
That's right.
That's another whole issue in itself.
That's right.
But let's go on with these practices that we're not to be a part of.
All right. The next one listed is an enchanter. And let me read to you, when I wrote this book, what I did was I took each one of these things piece by piece, and I got the dictionary's definition. An enchanter is a magician who uses magic or the speaking of certain words whereby supernatural forces are involved in order to achieve supernatural effects over human beings, animals, or natural phenomena. Now, if you've seen anything in Halloween, one of the things that you see is the black cat. You know, you've seen the little owl. Now, first of all, let me say before we get too alarmist sounding, God made a black cat. There's nothing wrong with a black cat, except the fact that in the occult world, the black cat is a part of what the witches refer to as a familiar, which is, and again, if you'll study out, and we'll talk a little bit about familiar spirits in a moment, is something that they can use to incorporate their powers into. And that's why you hear all the stories about the black cat who walks across the street that brings you bad luck, and all the little stories at the library about the black cat and how it works with a witch. Well, that is one of the things that referred to as talismans, and let me just read to you a little bit more about what I wrote here about that. The dictionary defines a talisman as an object marked with magical signs and believed to confer on its bearer supernatural powers or protection. Witches will invoke familiar spirits to enter into the bodies of their owls or cats and then keep them around for exercising of black magic. Now, if that sounds extreme to you, all you have to do is get a testimony of a person who was in witchcraft who became a Christian. They'll verify the fact that that is exactly what they did.
Yes.
I mean, there's a documented fact that that's part of their practice.
And it isn't just a game or a superstitious belief. It really does involve the forces of the demonic powers that really play havoc with people's lives and families.
Exactly. This is where the spells and all that come in, which leads us up to the next one.
Well, let me share something too.
Okay.
If people don't believe this, all they need to do is look back and remember what happened with Charlie Manson. He never picked up an instrument because of his ability to control other people's minds. Sharon Tate and all those people were slaughtered brutously. And then that isn't the only incident. There's been incident after incident where this form of witchcraft has caused death and heartache, and every time Charlie comes up for parole, the whole nation comes to alarm. They don't want him out. But yet they don't believe that this stuff really happens.
Well, that's an enchanter. It's that's what enchantment's about. All right. Next listed here After that, and the very last one in verse 10 is, or a witch. It says, these shall not be found among you. And then, of course, the next one is a witch.